Hitting your opponent during Geneijin as your ender with Zesshou is relatively funky, and the reason I say this is because majority of players look to hit once, and there's a lot of situations in the game where you want to hit once. However, there are also many other situations where you want to hit more than once. Each time that you hit your opponent, they bounce differently. One hit actually has a medium bounce, 2 hits has the highest bounce, and 3 hits has the lowest bounce. So there are certain characters in which getting that higher bounce is required in order to get proper enders. The height of the bounce is actually very based on the character that you're doing it against. So a lot of the characters in the game may bounce higher off of 2, but there are certain situations in which 1 bounce, specifically depending on how the Zesshou actually hits the opponent, will bounce them higher. And an example of this is Remy, which will be shown later. So I'm going to use a couple characters to show what happens when you get 1 hit, when you get 2 hits, and when you get 3 hits when you're looking to get your enders. And a majority of these enders are going to consider using Kara, Light Punch, Dash Punch. So normally against Hugo, you're going to use this sort of combo, and you're going to hit him in a way that makes it look like it's only 1 hit in a lot of cases. So when you do this, it actually makes the ender that is best against him relatively difficult, because you are out of position in most cases. Now, as you can see here, I managed to get the dash punch delayed so that I could get 2 particularly spread out hits. So it's usually hit number 1 and hit number 3, with hit number 2 whiffing. But if you only get 1 hit, or if you get all 3 hits, you're going to end up getting a different ender, because the distance that you get pushed from your shoulder is different based on the height that the opponent is at. So if I get the 2 hits as opposed to the 3 hits or the 1 hit, that light punch shoulder is going to allow me to get a close standing medium kick. But if I get 1 hit or 3 hits, I'm going to get far medium kick. So height matters a lot because of the different dash punches. So when you are going for this only works if the dash punch hits twice. Because if you're spacing and you use Fierce Punch as your dash punch, and you only get the 1 hit of your dash punch, this is very difficult. But the 2 hits allows you to actually get that knockdown, just like as if you were doing the close standing medium kick. You get more crouching medium punches if you do the close standing medium kick than you would Zesshou, but both work. So when you're trying to get a front-facing dash punch instead, it's very easy to get it off of that 2-hit knockup, like I just showed here. But if you get that 1 hit or that 3 hit, it becomes a little bit more difficult. The 1 hit is technically possible, but the 3 hit is not. So it's more consistent when you're trying to get that 2 hit, which is easier with a medium punch. And if you try to do it off of a fierce punch, dash punch that you don't delay, and you get multiple hits, even if you don't delay your shoulder, there's a chance it'll go under, just like this. So there's little tricks that you need to have for every single character based on what you're doing. Now, there was no Kara dash punch there, but it's also important that you delay your shoulder so that you can get it to work. So even if it hits once, it can work on Hugo, but there are other characters where that's just not the case. For twins, it's a little different because the dash punch doesn't hit as late in the Geneijin. Because you'll notice that I still have about 10% of my meter when I go to dash punch, which means that when I land, I will still be able to recovery cancel that dash punch, and I'll be able to get it off of 1 hit. but it's more consistent off of 2, just like it is against Hugo. So when you're doing it against twins, it is most consistent off of a 2-hit dash punch, just like this. And there's a couple ways that you can get this. You can get it by either delaying your fierce punch dash punch a lot, which is the most common way that I guess you can do it. And it's made even easier if you do the Kara dash punch instead with light kick. Now, but for consistency, you can do the Kara medium punch dash punch like I show in the video specifically about how to get this against twins. But the most important part against twins is that you're doing the micro step forward Kara dash punch. Because without that, this whole thing doesn't work at all. Now, if you were to try to get a close standing medium kick against Yun, or, Yang, where you only hit them once, it's very hard to get the micro step forward into standing medium kick to Kai. At least consistently, to where you would be able to get the dash punch. Because even if you get that micro step forward, you're pushed back really far from that Dakai, depending on the spacing that you get. So, again, the key to getting this to work is getting that 2-hit dash punch. Because it allows you to walk forward and get that close standing medium kick at a range where you can get your proper spacing. And it allows for that micro step forward Kara dash punch. There's also a reset ender against twins. That is a lot harder, like I show here, off of one hit of the dash punch. Because they don't bounce high enough for you to actually get the consistent timing to get the micro step forward standing medium kick that allows for the super jump roundhouse. So when you get one hit, you're required, for consistency's sake, to do light punch shoulder. And light punch shoulder is usually the most consistent way to get this anyway. However, players like Ushi will make sure that they do a combo that allows them to get the medium shoulder because it gives you an extra point of damage. And this requires that 2 hits of the Zesshou. Whether it's the last 2 hits or the first hit and the last hit, doesn't really matter. They just need to get that little bit of an extra bounce from being hit twice. And the little consistency things, matter quite a bit. And that's also why you'll very rarely see Yuns go for, this sort of ender into light punch shoulder Dakai dash punch, because of the amount of height that you have to get in order to make this work. It is technically possible, though. It's just really inconsistent. Now, against Oro, the most common combo that you see done is very similar to the twins, right? In which case, it's this one. And the way that this one is done is that it's done with a 1-hit dash punch, so an early dash punch into a medium punch shoulder that doesn't move, so it allows for you to get that same side situation where you can walk forward and crouching medium punch up kicks. So, against Oro, there is another ender which requires you to micro step forward to get the shoulder side swap. And you can do this with either medium punch or light punch. And lots of people do it with light punch. But consistency-wise, getting it with medium punch is important. Because if you get the 2-hit dash punch like I did here, it allows for the Kara dash punch knockdown, as opposed to if you do 1 hit as opposed to the 2, then you'll only be able to get the far standing heavy punch instead. like this. So if you want the knockdown, you have to get that 2-hit. But as you saw before, the 2-hit, depending on what 2 hits happen, can force him to stay in the corner. So this is why against Oro it's specifically important to do Kara medium punch dash punch, because it gets the 2 hits that you need for this proper side swap into the knockdown. Otherwise, you're better off just sticking with the original combo that I showcased. So just like against Twins, if you get the 1-hit dash punch and then you go for the same side light punch shoulder, the Kara dash punch doesn't work. However, it's possible to get it to work if you get 2 hits of your dash punch. And for this one, it can be the first 2 hits, or it can be the one at the front and the one at the back. It can't be the 2 at the back because it'll drop just like the 1-hit one. And if you get 3 hits like this, it doesn't work either. So that particular 2-hit mark is what is necessary to get the dash punch to work at all. If you get 1 or 3, it just doesn't work. So this is why when Yuns play against Oro, they tend to just sort of do the most basic thing. But if you notice, if you don't get that 1 hit and then you delay and you don't do that micro step for the medium punch shoulder, there's a chance that you go under him and you don't actually hit him. So it's one of those weird situations that you have to get a very particular type of dash punch to hit, regardless of the type of ender that you're looking to get. So if you want that corner situation where you don't have to walk forward, you have to do that early dash punch so that you only get 1 hit. Otherwise, there's a chance that if you get 2, that shoulder's going to completely whiff. So Oro is probably one of the most finicky characters as far as getting proper enders based on dash punch. And there's not a lot of ways to actually get up kicks against him without using Far Fierce. You can't do it off of palm or anything like that. So it's why most people just go for that immediate dash punch. But if you delay it and you get those 2 hits and you use medium punch shoulder to go under, you can still get a knockdown, and it is technically the best choice that you can make. The same sort of stipulations exist against Oro as they do against Ibuki. However, the Ibuki stuff is to actually make a medium punch dash punch work as opposed to a Kara light punch dash punch. If you get the 2 hits of the dash punch against Ibuki, when you go for the medium shoulder Dekai or the light punch shoulder Dekai or whatever, you'll be able to get a medium punch dash punch instead of a Kara light punch dash punch. So just like Twins, though, against Ibuki, you have to do the micro step forward if you are doing the light kick Kara dash punch, and that's usually the consistency thing for Ibuki. But as far as Ibuki goes, the 2 hits is required for the medium punch dash punch in most cases. And it's also the case where you need the timing to get a close standing medium kick. If you want that, it has to be 1 hit as opposed to 2, unlike the Twins. Because repositioning is a bitch to get the height against Ibuki because she falls a little bit slower. And her hurt box is a little bit different, so there's a lot of variation depending on the characters. But again, it's why most people go for the Dekai dash punch against her, because if you do the medium punch up kicks under, it leaves her at 58 life of 160. And if you mess up your combo, like I just did there, but in a different way, where you don't get your dash punch, you still get 58 damage, and you still get your Oki even if it whiffs. So that's why in Japan most players will go for that Dekai dash punch ender, because it's the same damage, and the meter is similar enough to where if you get that dash punch, it's great. It's added damage and it's added meter. But it's at very little risk other than forcing you to play a rock, paper, scissors sort of oki against your opponent rather than being able to properly use spacing. There's multiple outcomes for the same decision against Remy. And this is something that you have to be very cognizant of because you can do a heavy punch dash punch and have it completely whiff, or you can force it to hit multiple times, or even once. So there it is hitting multiple times. And there it is hitting once. And you get different proper decisions based on how many hits of the dash punch actually occur. Some things are easier and some things are harder. So it's important to understand that you can make things more consistent by using buttons that are not Fierce Punch. Now, the other inconsistent thing is the amount of hits for up kicks. Depending on how many hits of your dash punch hit, it's easier or harder to get both hits of up kicks, because you actually have to delay your crouching medium punch in order to hit Remy low enough to get both hits of up kicks. And this is about a 20 frame advantage difference if you get the 2-hit or the 1-hit, with the 1-hit being less. So as far as consistency goes, you're kind of up shit's creek unless you sort of make very specific decisions. So like that was a dash punch that hit very late, only hit once, and still allowed for 2-hit up kicks. But you're going to have other situations where you only get 1 hit, and it's going to send them flying. Which may make the dash punch ender a little bit better. But both of these situations give the exact same amount of damage. And that's why, for the most part, against Remy, people stick to the crouching medium punch or crouching medium kick into up kicks. Because you can use crouching medium kick into up kicks instead of crouching medium punch to guarantee the 2 hits. And since things are within 1 or 2 damage of one another, it's very important to get consistency. So if you're able to think and see where they're sort of bouncing, and you're able to time your crouching medium kick correctly, you're always going to get the 2 hits. Because it's inconsistent as far as getting your proper height and all that stuff, the timing matters a lot, and the damage is very similar. So whether you're going for this sort of light punch Zesshou into shoulder Dekai dash punch, or Kara dash punch I should say, or any sort of multi-hit into crouching medium punch up kicks, or a single hit into crouching medium punch or crouching medium kick up kicks, it doesn't really matter. But the extra hits make the crouching medium punch up kicks easier, and it can make the Dekai dash punch harder against him. Whereas against twins, or, you know, Ibuki or Oro, they all have their own special interactions. And with Remy, it's 1 hit, high bounce, makes it so that shoulder, Dekai, dash punch is easier. It doesn't mean that you can't technically get it off of the other stuff, but it is most consistent this way. Whereas the crouching medium punch up kick ender is most consistent off of 2 or more hits of dash punch, which means that you have to either delay or walk forward for your dash punch instead. So it's one of those things where you really have to figure out what you're comfortable with, what enders you want to go for, and if you're okay with taking the risk of getting that 1 hit crouching medium punch up kicks instead of 2.